Hello, welcome to my Pikmin 4 enemies, brand new enemies, tier list and notes. I want to talk about a lot of these fellows, because they're quite cool. How do you engage? There we go. So, first off, the game is really loud for me, so I'm going to turn that down quickly. So, we've got a lot of cool new enemies in Pikmin 4. I almost said 2. And these guys, I mean, they're cool. The albino dwarf Bulborbs. Is that what they're called? I believe so. Right? Yes, the albino dwarf. So these are actually baby Bulborbs, whereas these are bred bugs that are mimicry of Bulborbs, which is very cool that we finally get to see the evolved stage of the Bulborb larva, of course. Although they're not as smart as they are in this in 2. But, you know, it's still nice to see these guys. They're not much of a challenge. I think they take kind of like more than one hit to kill, right? Yeah, they take a little bit more than just one bounce. At least for most Pikmin that aren't Glow or Walk, I imagine. So, you know, they're good additions, and they're nice for the night missions. So, here's the tier list, right? They're okay. You know, they're harmless additions to the game that I'm cool with being a part of it. Next up, we have Mr. Jumbo Bulborb. So this guy's kind of just here. I'm gonna get some Pikmin that we can use throughout this. We'll get 3 of each of the original. 32. So he's just a bigger Bulborb. Nothing too special about him. He does like a triple attack. How many does he get there? Not too many. Like, he really doesn't need that many. He's more of an addition to like night mode Pikmin. I'm actually just gonna get nothing but purples. I'll reset and then we'll go off that. But the Jumbo Bulborb's a little bit, I don't know, underwhelming, to say the least. He just kind of hangs out. Doesn't pose much of a threat. How many Pikmin did he eat there? Like, only 7? That's not many, especially for like how easy he is to take down. He lays down for really long. He doesn't have like a special color or anything. There are other Bulborbs, though, I think are significantly more threatening. A little bit of a letdown, to say the least. Which is kind of sad, because I like the idea of like a bigger Bulborb, but they didn't really execute it super well. The Dwarf Frosty Bulborbs. These are actually also baby Bulborbs, and they're really cool. I don't want OG for that, but like, regular Pikmin, I don't think they can straight up kill it. Yeah, so it needs to be Ice Pikmin, or you do have this other option of using Pine Cones to get rid of their icy surface, and then 2 Pikmin can kill them. So sorry, Fire Starters, not Pine Cones. So that's like a really cool way to make that work. It gives Ice Pikmin more use, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Rock Pikmin also are able to do something about it. Just do this, get some rocks. Yeah, so that's good. You know, Rock Pikmin are pretty useless in this game in comparison to the other types. If Purple Pikmins are also able to do it there, then yeah, that kind of ruins that. Rock Pikmin continue to be a little useless, but hey, I think that these are actually a really good addition. They have a little bit of ways to deal with them, and I think they look really cool on top of that. So I'm a big fan. Like, this is easily my favorite ice enemy. And I'm going to just put this guy up here as well. This is the regular Frosty Bulborb. Similar idea, just a little bit more, you know, terrifying. I think this is a good, like, this is basically a Bulblax. You know, this is Fiery Bulblax's distant relative. Big fan of these guys. Very, very good addition. Next up, the Silver Bulblax. So I was glad to see the Bulblax from Pikmin 1 kind of have a chance to shine in this game. He's still a lot easier than he is in 1, but I mean, he is still quite threatening. You have to be careful how you aim your Pikmin because you can just throw them into his mouth by accident. Of course, riding on Ouchie makes this boss fight a lot easier. Oh wow, boulders. Did those appear on the outside? Wow, that was quite devastating. Yeah, so Sovereign Bulblax is fantastic. I mean, just a scarier Bulblax that makes boulders when he lands like this. I don't remember if those... I don't think those appeared during the overworld fight with him. He's not too hard, but like, he's hard enough. And he's... Frick. I lost... I wasn't trying very hard, but I lost 60 Pikmin there. Just from casually trying to take him down. So, you know, more challenging Emperor is always nice. I'm going to put him in A tier with the other two. I think including this was a great idea. And having a stronger Bulblax than the Emperor as a callback to Pikmin 1, kind of separating the two races, or species rather, definitely the way to go. Emperors are still cool in this game, but Sovereign is definitely where I prefer my my Bulblax fights. Except for the Snowy Blowhog we'll start with. So this is just a Blowhog that is significantly weaker than the Fiery Blowhog, because ice can't actually kill you or take Pikmin's lives. So I'm like, Snowy Blowhogs are okay. They're harmless, but I feel like they don't really need to be here. Just because there are so many ice enemies, and I think that the Blizzard Blowhog that's here, the flying one, that's a better variant than adding another Fiery Blowhog variant. So the Blizzard Blowhog's gonna go in C, the Snowy Blowhog's gonna go in C, and the same goes for the Titan Blowhog. Because this is, you only encounter this guy once in the single player, and he's in the final cave. He's not super special. I feel like, honestly, with the name Titan Blowhog, I was kind of hoping that we would get a kind of a spiritual successor to the Titan Dweevil, where he uses all the elements, but instead we just get the one fire, and it really is just an extension of, hey, Fiery Blowhog, except it's big, and that similar to the Jumbo Blowhog, the Jumbo Bulborb, it's not very interesting, and the Blizzarding Blowhog is the exact same. In fact, to an even lesser degree. The Titan Blowhog can be quite threatening if you don't have a Scorch Guard, because it actually does a lot of damage to you, like in Olimar's Shipwreck Tail. Titan Blowhog is a little bit threatening. You do have to fight one on day 1 or 2, essentially. Whereas Blizzarding Blowhog will never threaten you, ever, under any circumstances. So, not much of a problem. Tusk Blowhog is a very cool addition. A Blowhog that is instead intended to rush you down, kind of as a complement to Ouchie's Rush. It has the rush power, and any Pikmin that it runs into, it will eat. I remember when I was doing the demo, this was actually the first enemy in the entire game that took a Pikmin from me. But it kind of does, like, it's not hard to kill or anything. It's just like an early enemy that able to eat Pikmin, just a few, and knock dudes out of the way. So, you know, it's a harmless, pretty easy inclusion. I really like its design, but I'm only going to be putting it at a B tier here. Like, it's okay. I think if it had a little bit more properties, it could be more interesting. Like, say, if it, like, I don't know, there's a lot you can do with rushing. Maybe if it, like, hit a wall, it'd make boulders fall. Stuff like that. Or maybe there could be a larger variant, kind of like the Snoot Whacker, which we'll get to later. It could definitely have a little bit more going for it, because it's a really cool design. It's kind of an extension of the Blowhog, but like at its purest form, where instead of blowing elements at you, it is just like straight up pig, or boar even. It's very much a boar or a warthog. Anyways. The Arctic Cannon Beetle. I love this thing. This thing is I love fighting this thing. You know, it sucks in your Pikmin for the first bit, and it gets quite strong. It can actually, like, that was it. They are all dead. Not all of them, actually. I didn't know that. I wasn't sure how many died. But I lost about half of them. I think a 30 perished in that. So it can take out quite a few Pikmin through its eating power, but once it actually does do that sucking in, it's quite easy to dodge. I mean, you just whistle them out, and then you just attack its meat. I'm curious, do these boulders actually go? Doesn't seem like they can. I'm gonna quickly check if this next one. But yeah, so it shoots a harmless cannonball, which is quite fine. Okay, here's some more. Okay, so the cannons can kill, but they're quite limited in their range. I think this thing is great. I think this is a fantastic extension of the Horned Cannon Beetle. And I honestly will put it in S. I think it's not challenging by any means, but I think that it's a good extension of an already good enemy. And the way you fight it was quite unique in an arena that there are two of them. There's one that shoots it straight down the path, and you have to kind of dodge the snowballs as you go up to fight it. And then there's the other that is more focused on the arena having spikes all over that. You are able to destroy in order to get to it and maneuver around it a little better. So I like this boss a lot. I think that it was one of the better bosses in the game. And its design is such a good extension off the Horned. I do prefer fighting the Horned, though. I think the Horned... I mean, Pikmin 1 enemy, it was probably the most, like, in-depth Pikmin 1 enemy in the game. Very, very fun boss. I'm glad they brought it back. Mama Sheargrub has to be probably the most weird inclusion in the game. Something about a Sheargrub that's like, hey, I'm just gonna jump on your dudes. It clearly can do some damage, but I don't know. It's not very tough by any means. And I'm all for Pikmin reusing its enemy designs, but I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't like the supersized enemies very much. I think that, you know, Sovereign Bulblax is an exception, as is one later, but Mama Sheargrub really was disappointing to me just because it is just a female Sheargrub maxed out. I think that if it were, you know, there was the Queen Shearwig design in Pikmin, or Hey Pikmin. I kind of liked how they decided to go above and beyond for that. But just reusing the same model, upscaling it, a little bit boring. I think that they might have been able to do a little bit more with that to show that it's a more mature species. What are the notes on this, actually? Typically, molt when it reaches maturity. Yeah, so this is mature. Like the Jumbo Bulborb, like that. I think that's like some sort of like defect. Mama Sheargrub is completely different, though. I need to get more Wikipedia Pikmin. The Shearflea are super cool additions to the game. These are just kind of like male Sheargrubs that are a bit more mobile. They have a cool little design where they stab your Pikmin and then go out. But just like Sheargrubs, they will die very quickly. I think this is a perfect extension of the Sheargrubs, and they're even a part of a different family. The Springjab family, despite having the same beginning of name. They aren't part of the Mandiblard family, sorry. So it's nice to have these as a part of it. I think that they're a great inclusion. I didn't even include them as the new enemies because I forgot about them, because they're so small and little. I'll put them in B, similar to the albino and the... No, what? No, I'll put them in A. I really think they're good. Having... Oh no, just this is like this is a good way to extend off the Sheargrubs and Shearwigs. Because the Shearwigs were kind of nerfed in this game, but the Shearflea is a little bit more scary because they'll grab your Pikmin, then they'll run away. And that's like, obviously there's auto aim in this game, so it's not much of a problem. But something like this in Pikmin 2 or 3, And just in Pikmin in general, it's a good little nuisance enemy that combined with other enemies is going to be a genuine problem. So, I don't know, I like them a lot, and they have a really nice design. I like this stabby. I like these stabs. These stabs a lot. Next up is the Ice-Blown Dweevil. Of course, Dweevils are just kind of Dweevils. And I'm actually going to pair it alongside the Venom Dweevil, because they are both the same sort of idea, where you attack them, and they shoot out poison and ice. They're necessary additions, but they're kind of boring. Like, I'm not a big fan of Dweevils to begin with. It's just like, hey, let's recolor the same enemy, and at least they recolored it. But ice is just such a disappointing element in this game, because unlike everything else, it actually can't kill. It's kind of like electricity in Pikmin 3, where you just can't do anything about it. And the Venom, I mean, it's the same thing as the purple one, except this time it's blue for some reason. I guess because they want Venom to be this cyan color instead. To make it be like, oh, don't use purples on this, use different color. I don't know, a little bit weird, but it's cool, it's fine, it works. Oh, Groovy Longlegs. What a spectacular boss. Just, we were talking about perfect extensions of enemies earlier, and this is like, this is so much better than what Raging Longlegs provides. You know, it's got this element where it's like, oh, if you have Pikmin in that area, they start being unable to completely control themselves. Jesus. I love this. This is so good. And then, of course, it has the rage phase that Raging Longlegs also shares. And you can even trip it. It's a very multi-layered boss, and I have watched many people use many Pikmin over it. See if this is the red phase. Yeah, so it starts to just go completely out of control. And rather than, it seems like rather than fighting me, it's trying to kill the Pikmin that are actually in the dance mode here, which is really cool. Groovy Longlegs is, I'll rank the S tier Pikmin. Groovy Longlegs is absolutely, like, top of S, right there. Just an absolute, like, that is a perfect Pikmin enemy. Truly. Next up we have the Mucker Skate. So this new element, Mud, is pretty cool. I thought it was nice to kind of have this new, this is water, but not really. I don't think I've ever seen the Mucker Skates get a hit on with the mud. I'm curious what they do if they actually get a hit on this. So let's wait around and see. They don't seem to be attacking. Oh, interesting. They actually bury Pikmin with their mud. Huh. Okay. So that's a really cool extension of the Skeeter Skates. I think that's what they're called, yeah. So, you know, a good way to work off of what's already been made. I'm a fan. I'll put it in B. I don't think it's super great. I mean, I get there not being a new mud thing, but they're kind of a Muda adjacent. Still nuisances that work well in the new mud areas. I like mud a lot. I think it's a really great new element, and I mean, honestly, having it's really good for the purples, or sorry, not the purples, the ice and the winged, to have this kind of surface that they can work with that the blues can't, because blues were really powerful in this game in terms of like just how much you had to use them for certain water areas. So this is kind of like, hey, this is where your blues don't work, and that's fine. You know, I mean, obviously blues are still worse than ice, but I'd say overall blues were more useful in this game than winged, so there's a point for winged at least with the mud. The Snowflake Fluttertail. This was probably my favorite boss in the game. I think right off the bat you can't even attack it. Yeah, you can't attack it without using a fire starter, similar to some of the other bosses. I think I'd like this thing a lot more. Oh look, you can actually attack its face, but not its body. So that's cool. it has this ice attack that freezes all the Pikmin. And it would freeze you as well if you don't have the guard, but you have the guard this early, or this late in the game when you have to fight this thing. It doesn't actually seem like you're doing any damage to it without the fire starter. So you can use a fire starter to... kind of weird hitbox on it. But yeah, you can use a fire starter and it will show its body. It kind of reminds me of the Behemoth Frostbat to a degree. Oh look, it's still vulnerable. It's not particularly difficult of a boss. I mean, ice is such a weak power, but I really did like fighting it. Even if it's not hard by any means. I think it was fun, and I definitely will put it at S. I think that it wasn't as great as Groovy, but it was definitely up there. Creepy and Chrysanthemum in this game, a lot of people don't like its new design, but I think that its new design works perfectly. And I think that's infinitely more threatening than it was in Pikmin 2, that's for sure. Whenever I see this thing now, I'm kind of like, I don't really, like, as I have purples, I'm kind of threatened by it. Like, it just took out 3 Pikmin right there. There's another one. It knocks them off pretty quick. It doesn't, like, it has a quick recover time when it actually gets a successful eating in. It's cool. I like it a lot. And then, of course, the Startle Spore is the extension of that. And I like how they get scared. Like, they're quite intimidating when they actually do the jump scare. This dude's cool. He spouts poison all over the place. He actually spouts quite a bit of poison, which can be quite difficult to avoid. So, like, not only is he knocking your Pikmin off into poison, but he's also eating them pretty quickly. So I'm a big fan of both these guys. I'll put them both in A, honestly. I like the new Chrysanthemum design. I know a lot of people don't like it, but I think it's cool. I prefer the original, but I think I prefer how this one actually fights you. So I think this one's better overall, even if it's missing out on the Piranha Plant aesthetic that the first one had. This little guy is adorable. Let's get a few more Pikmin again. So these guys aren't particularly dangerous, but I mean, they are cute as hell. And I mean, they go down pretty quickly, but they're cute. They make cute sounds. And I mean, they can be a little annoying. You know, there's two-step process. You gotta destroy this gold first, and then you have to destroy them. They're also quite silly because they just kind of hide out in places that you don't expect them to be in. Like, there's probably one in here. It's like, oh, there's a silly little guy. And that's definitely what they were going for with this thing. Like, yeah, here's a silly little guy. The gold pieces that fall off of them are a little bit obnoxious. I don't really like how you fight those, but like, I love them. I love this enemy. And the boss, the Glide, or Killdemander. Is that Killdemander? What do you call it? Killdemander, yeah. This thing is really cool. It's a little bit, like, threatening. It is coming right at me. So you have to wait for it to attack before you can actually really get anything on it. Which is always good. I like multi-step process enemies. You can, and this enemy also has the option, like, do you choose to go for the gold pieces, or do you just, like, straight up attack it? So it actually takes a little bit of time to figure out the most effective strategy for this guy. One smaller detail that would be, like, pretty cool if you actually, if auto-aim didn't exist, you'll notice that its weak point actually gets smaller as it, as you damage it. So that's always, you know, it's pretty cool. It has 3 weak points, so you have to actually get rid of all the gold on its body. I think this thing is really cool. So I'll put the regular one in A tier. And I'll put the boss in S tier. Because, I mean, it's not a threatening boss, but I think I like multi-layered bosses. Oh my god, the miniature Snoot Whacker. This guy's pretty great. But I do have gripes with him. Like, he doesn't really do much. I think, like, he only has this one attack where he just knocks your dudes all over the place. I mean, that's fine. And you actually can't hurt them. That's one of the big things. So there's a few of these that are in areas that are outside of Ochi's range for a while that you have to like build your way up to get him. And he's like I can't tell if he's supposed to be like a cactus or a watermelon elephant. But regardless, he's a little cool elephant guy, very similar to a Blowhog in design. I love them; they're adorable, but I really don't think that they fit in the game super well. I think it's nice to have an enemy that's Ochi is forced to rush, but it's probably the first enemy that I'm gonna put in C tier just as a regular enemy. And I'm actually gonna put the boss down there as well. The boss isn't an extension of it. It doesn't actually hurt your Pikmin or kill them as far as I know. I'll quickly test though. Yeah, doesn't actually have the ability to kill your Pikmin. Oh! Alright. I take it back. Well, boss is still kind of sad. It can kill Pikmin, which changes it drastically, but the fact is that you're intended to paralyze it, and you kind of just infinite it at this point, because you see it will get up, and like even a player that doesn't really know what they're doing, like that's all you have to do. The moment you rush it, it's completely unable to attack. So cool that it's able to kill enemies, or kill Pikmin, but I still don't think it's that great of an addition, just because it's so easy to kill. It's not super fun to fight, and I didn't even know it could crush Pikmin until right then, because, well, it never would realistically ever have a chance to crush Pikmin. So, good to know that it actually does have some sort of threatening premise, and I think that having this in an area that you might, like, if there's ever DLC or anything, having this in an area that might split up the captain with Ochi, that'd be a good way to make this a little bit more interesting, because, I mean, when you encounter it in the actual game, it's always going to be just easy time, a little bit of a time waster, honestly, because it's just like, oh, rush it, now rush it again, now rush it again, now rush it again. It's like, not very fun. So, not a huge fan of it. The Sun Squish. I love this thing. What a spectacular enemy. You know, one of those enemies that you can't rush is always a good thing. Well, you can rush it, but you can't just charge it, which I always appreciate. You know, you can just do that, though, and it, well, actually, it doesn't die immediately to that. But, you know, two of them will take it down. This enemy is spectacular. I mean, it's also so cool to have a mimic enemy out of the nectar, which is literally an egg, though. I love this thing a lot. I think the Sun Squish, and then its corpse is like a yolk. You can kind of see its little pupils. I love the Sun Squish. I think this is easily like, this is an S tier enemy. I'm sorry, it's just so good. What a great enemy. Fiulix is also pretty good. I mean, having a Gulix sequel, I'm not gonna complain. I think I liked it a lot when I fought it. It's not particularly threatening though, and it does this mechanic that you'll see in most of the game where it's like, oh, 15 Pikmin, pull out the thing. But it actually, wait. Okay, I was thinking the final boss that you don't like. Yeah, you pull it out and then you charge it. I would honestly like it a lot more if it didn't have, like, it does the thing that Pikmin 3 bosses do, where it, like, at a certain point of it being damaged, it starts to call all the dudes together. It's not super threatening. I mean, it's Gulix. It's very Gulix adjacent, at least. It's not exactly Gulix, but, you know, it's the vibes of Gulix. They decided to include this instead of Gulix, which I appreciate that it's actually here at all. And I like that this nectar can actually grab you as well as it's coming back. It's a cool boss, but I wouldn't put it in the same tier as the others. I think it's good. I will put it in A. Even put it at the top of A. I'll order things at the end of it for all the tiers, but yeah, solid A tier. Its design is kind of creepy as well, which is nice. The Downy Snagret. These are similar to the albino Dwarf Bulborbs. These are good additions, you know. They're just kind of like an average enemy that you can just kind of put all over the place. They're not particularly threatening, but they're not meant to be. They're just supposed to be like, hey, here's cute baby Snagrets that eat stuff quickly. And they can come out of eggs, because why wouldn't they be able to? That's what Snagrets do. So it makes sense. And if you're not careful, you might just lose a Pikmin to them. Look, even two. So I'm a big fan of the Downy Snagret. I think that it's honestly such a good addition. Is it an A tier edition? Not quite. I'll put it at B tier. But top of B for sure. It's good. The Waddlequaff. This guy has a hilarious name. And I like that it swallows treasure. I like that it swallows Pikmin. How many can you eat at once? 6. That's pretty solid. And it can also eat the player, but that's not going to do that much. I like the Waddlequaff a lot. I mean, it's just a cool little fucking creature that hangs out. And, I mean, why not, you know? There's another enemy that, kind of like the opposite of a Blowhog, that instead of eating, or sorry, blowing, it actually inhales. So I think it's good. I think it's really good even. I'll put it at A tier. The cakes. I'm going to rank all 3 of them at the same time because they're all the same. They're weird. See, they're kind of like Pikmin 2 enemies where even if you kill them before they're done their actual attack, they will still actually finish the attack. I like them. They're kind of great, but like all those Pikmin there, boom, dead. And you know what? I like that more. But they're all just kind of like, you know, they're all the same vibes. They're all okay. Their design's all right. They're just kind of these weird insect rocks, or like snails, kind of, that are using a rock as a home. They're all right. They're nothing criminal. I like them. I'd probably like the freeze cake more if it actually was more threatening, or if it was a like a tox cake. The freeze cake kind of sad. I don't know. Ice enemies are just a little bit underwhelming in this game. The Toxicstool. This is a cool idea based on the puff stool, where white Pikmin are super immune to it, which is nice. You know, always giving white Pikmin more... Oh, that is a fat ass. Giving white Pikmin more things to do is good. This boss is also kind of cool, because, like, it spawns... Like, if you destroy these mushrooms, it'll come back and respawn them. Like, after a while. Maybe not those ones specifically. Yeah, you see he's walking over there. It might start respawn. Like, it might respawn them after it gets up here. Let's see. Yes, it does during its boss fight. Yeah, see? That's super cool. Like, the puff still got super nerfed with how it behaves in this game, where it just makes Pikmin dance instead. Toxicstool's pretty great. I think it's like, if they brought this in instead of the puff stool and not brought the puff stool back, I would have been okay with that. Toxicstool's a good extension of it. I think that it would have been better if it got fought before the puff stool. I don't know. I'm just glad it's here. I'm glad they're both here. And it's not just a recolor, it's also a retexture. Which, you know, it's small things like that that matter a lot to me, whether or not I like something. But it having the extra, you know, the extra design on its cap goes a long way. Moldy Dwarf Bulborb. These guys are actually really cool. I love their design. And I always like mushrooms or like fungus taking over stuff. You'll see they actually do take quite a bit of hits to actually get rid of. But they're never going to be particularly threatening, and of course, when they actually revive Pikmin, they aren't going to be able to take them out. The way that I usually dealt with these guys was through Ochi. I would just kind of, you know, boom. But yeah, they're good. They're really good, even. I think they're probably like my favorite of the new Bulborbs introduced. I love their design, the dark eyes. with the blue around it and the idea of just this fungus taking over their brain. I'm a big fan of that. The Moldy Slooch, on the other hand, I don't really feel the same way about. I mean, I don't feel strongly about the Slooch to begin with. I think it's a cool enemy, but I don't think it's anything to write home about. And deciding to have the, I mean, of all the enemies, the Slooch as one of the other Moldy variants. The Slooch is a little bit of an underwhelming choice. I mean, it gets quite a few Pikmin, but it's also very much not threatening. And if white Pikmin are able to take it down that quickly, it's a little bit of a problem. So I'm going to actually put the Moldy Slooch at C tier as well. Not my favorite. The Porqupine. This enemy is supposed to kind of be like the middle ground between like an enemy and a boss. I've compared it to the Gatling Groink in the past, where it does these distance shots, and later in the game it gets put on a ledge so you can't just charge it, like so. Which is like the main way that you're going to end up defeating it early on. It's a pretty cool enemy. It's not particularly threatening though. I mean, like these spikes, wow. These spikes rarely actually impale Pikmin. But there go a few right there. And it's quite sad and scary when they actually do. So definitely an enemy that like had potential, and I think it could have really benefited through a new variant similar to the Toxicstool. Just like an additional variant. But like, it can take out quite a few Pikmin itself. Like, look at that. That was quite a lot. But its spikes are so slow that it's never going to really do too much. I think it's a good enemy, but I'm not going to put it any higher than B tier. Obviously, I'm not basing things on how threatening they are, but I don't know, something about this thing, it's a little bit underwhelming to me. It's good, it's just not great. Now, this is going to be super unfair, but I like the Icy Blowhog a lot in comparison to like the Blizzarding Blowhog. Something about it leaving an extra pool behind afterwards and actually moving your Pikmin at a distance. Like, this adds a little bit more challenge where if you were to put this thing... Also, it flies, so you can't just rush it immediately. If you were to put this thing in like an actual room with other enemies, it's going to probably be a nuisance. I don't think it actually ends up being combined with other enemies, but it's definitely way better than the other two Blowhogs. I'm willing to put it in the B tier. I like it a lot. I like new variants of certain things. It's just that the other Blowhogs, like the ice and the snowy and the blizzarding, they're kind of underwhelming. This thing, also not great, but at least it has a little bit more flavor. And I mean, I like the texture. It's a nice texture. It's okay. I like it a lot more than the other two though. So I'm putting it in B. Next up is a Chili Hop. Now, you know me, I'm the big Wally Hop fan, and I love this thing. I love it a lot. Do I love it enough to qualify it for S tier or A tier? I mean, that's the most Pikmin that I've seen a Wally Hop kill so far in this game. It's cool. And I mean, its ice lasts for quite a while, but like that's never going to be a problem because you have Ochi. Ice being left on the floor doesn't really do anything. But it's good. I mean, it's a good extension of the Wally Hop. Oh, that's a pose. I like it. I'm biased. I'm very biased. I'm extremely biased. Like, it's not that great. Not at all. But I'm putting an S tier because I just like the fact that Wally Hops finally got a new variant after 4 Pikmin games. Like, it hasn't gotten a new variant since the first game. And, like, this is probably the most threatening ice enemy aside from the Ice Bulborb. I just kind of wish it had a little bit more going on. Like, in terms of its design. It's just a complete recolor of the Wally Hop, yellow Wally Hop. I think it would have been more suited as the regular Wally Hop if it were based on this design instead. Just because it is found in caves. Just similar to this Wally Hop, which is only found in caves. And then on top of that, the yellow Wally Hop also gets the Master Hop in this game. Which, like, come on, dude. This thing's so cool. But it's so bad. Like, wow. That's really sad. Let's take a peek at just how many Pikmin this thing can actually take down at once. The full army. And one white. We'll get Ochi to go over there. Just stay for now. Let's see how many Pikmin you can take out at once. Okay, quite a bit! It just didn't seem like it because it missed the first time, I guess. But yeah, so it can be a little bit threatening, but it really isn't much of a boss. I like how it's utilized in Olimar's side story. It's added to an area where there are like 2 other yellow Wally Hops with it. And then I also like its boss fight in the one area is like if it lands, it creates a water puddle. I think if it had more health and was a little bit more threatening, I could like it a lot more. But I mean, come on, it's still S tier. Like, I just love Wally Hops. And it's just a bigger Wally Hop. Another problem, like, this is absurd bias. Like, realistically, I would put both of these in, like, this would be at most A tier, low A. This would be B. But they're both S tier because I am the Wally Hop guy. I think that both of them could use a different design as well. I don't know, like, frogs are pretty popular in Japan to have, like, crowns and be, like, frog kings and stuff, right? I think it'd be cool to see this as, like, a frog king with some sort of crown. Maybe something on top of it, so, like, I don't know, maybe you have to aim your Pikmin at a certain spot. Similar to the Emperor Bulblax, where you can't hit behind it. You have to hit it from the front. I don't know, just a way to make it a little bit more threatening would go a long way. The Pricklepuff is an enemy that I can't do anything about because I don't have any blue Pikmin. So let's change that. Our whites perished in the fight. That's fine. Get 50 blue. So this is a really cool fish enemy. It doesn't really, it's not particularly threatening. But I mean, I was wondering like what this thing would do, but the stabbing, like, come on, that's cool. It's cool. Like, it's not threatening or scary or difficult, but it's a nice fish design, and I like that it just like kind of like a pufferfish, yeah. Pufferfish Pikmin enemy, cool idea. Like, generally really cool idea. I'm gonna put an A tier. I like it a lot. I think it's real fun. A lot of A tier enemies in this game. Next up, the Aristocrab Offspring. So we got a lot of middle ground enemies in this game between this, the Bulborb, like the baby Bulborb, and then the what's the other dude? Can this guy actually attack? Or is he solely bubble? I can't tell. Okay, so they can't attack. These are good. We're getting like middle grounds, like between this, the downy Snagret, and then the albino Bulborb larva. This is a really good addition. But again, similar to those three, like these are like the three dudes. So I'm only gonna put it in B tier, just like the other two. I think it's better than those two, even though it is literally just a shrunken down peckish Aristocrab. It doesn't really get its doesn't get much of a personality. But like, I don't know if the peckish Aristocrab actually has the bubble made in this game. But it's a good. Okay, so it does. Yeah, and this thing is like, come on, this is one of the best enemies Pikmin has ever made. Like, oh, charge. Oh no, you can't do it. One of the best enemies in the game. The Grub Chucker. Okay. So this thing is so cool. It's so large and terrifying, but it really just doesn't do anything. Like, you knock the Pikmin out, and it just kind of lays there. And like, it's so big and menacing, but it just, like, it will grab, what is that, 2 Pikmin? Put it in its head. And like, what? Why are they still up there? Like, what is... Why is it taking so long for them to perish? This thing had so much potential to just be like an actual threat, and there it goes, it eats them finally. But it just takes way too long. Oh, it's so cool though. It's so cool. It's just so not threatening that it is disappointing. So I'm going to put it at the top of A. I think it is one of my favorite enemies in the game. Like, come on. What a great design, although it does kind of have questionable lips at the top in terms of design. But it's such a cool enemy. It really is. So definitely still A tier. It's just... It's a little bit underwhelming. I wish it did a little bit more with everything it does. It's just like, I remember seeing it in the final area and being like, that is the coolest thing ever. It's just, ugh, sad. That busted Rumpup. I love this thing a lot. It, like, this is a good Pikmin enemy. Just like, get behind it and pack it, and like, it might take a few moments before you're actually able to get down. Once you get down, though, it's like, oh, attack, yippee. You know, you do decent damage, it gets up, knocks you back, and then it continues. It's not threatening by any means, but, like, it's a cool mini-boss. I like it. I think it's really good, even. It's got an extremely cool design. So it's definitely S tier for me. I didn't put it in top 3. It's, like, it's so friggin' cool. Look at this thing. It's kind of like got like a Venus flytrap-esque mouth as well. It's very, very good. It's such a good enemy design. The Bloomcap Blister. This is such a good extension of the, like, look, it even follows you the same way. A good extension of the Ranging Blister for a game that doesn't really allow for the Ranging Blister to exist. It has to notice you, and then it will start, like, relentlessly going for you. And once again, you have to attack the bloom on top of it. You see, it's actually quite difficult to get. I'm trying to cheat it, and I'm still struggling. And then once it actually does, it has this defensive mechanism. Yeah, like, it's a good enemy. Obviously, though, I am struggling here. Jesus. Yeah, like, this is really cool. This thing's really good. The Bloomcap Blister, it's a really good extension of the Blister. I'm also going to put it in S. It's a good challenge. Good design, like, really cool design. It's got that nice shell on its back, essentially, that folds up. And it just kind of cracks you down. It's quite terrifying. So, yeah, it's good. Very good enemy. And then there's only one left. Aside from final boss, the Bog Swallow. This thing is weird. I just want to get Ouchie out of here. So this thing, it just kind of exists. I mean, it's kind of like the opposite of a cannon beetle. It will bring your Pikmin in. And I think it actually can eat them. But for the most part, it brings you into the swamp, into the mud. Just to be a little bit of a problem. And yeah, it can't eat them. It's a good design. I mean, it really complements the mud, and you can't rush it. You're forced to attack it from a distance. Not only endangering yourself, but, like, you have to risk your Pikmin going into the mud. So I remember when I first saw it, it was quite threatening. A lot of people aren't going to want to have to fight it like that, because they don't want their Pikmin to start drowning. So the Bog Swallow is quite good. I'll put it in A tier. I don't like its design that much, though. But I think it's a good mud enemy. Final boss is S tier. It's really good. And Moss is also S tier. Just put that out there now. Moss, we'll start with. Moss is such a cool idea. Kind of this extra thing that steals your Pikmin, kind of like the antenna beetle. It's got so much personality. I love Moss. It whistles your Pikmin and takes them back to its base until you knock it out. So, you know, cool way to deal with it. And then actually being the only enemy in the game that actually revives after you take it out. Really cool. And then the Ancient Sirehound was just like a really fun final boss fight. Hello! And I think it's cool that you can do the full thing in the Picklepedia. I assume you can do the full fight, maybe at least. Wasn't particularly challenging, but I think it was a really good boss fight. I think the enemy is quite intimidating at times. Poor Ochi can't take its tail out. But yeah, they're both really good. So here is the tier list. Can I get rid of this ad? No? Okay. Yeah, there are a lot of good enemies. Let's quickly order them. I like both these more though. Bloomcap Blister. Yeah, this is mostly fine. Grub Chucker is one of my favorites. Yep. I like the Upward or the Sovereign Bulblax. I like it a lot. It's probably my favorite A tier. Xanthamums definitely go down a lot. Fluff over that. Puffstool, or Toxstool up here with these guys. I like it a lot. Yep, that seems right. Porcupine's really good. Icy Blowhog's not that great. This dude's also definitely not that great. Scorch Cakes, yeah, they're all good there. Tusk Blowhog, yeah, these 4 enemies here that I'm currently hovering, like these are all like mandatory new additions that just kind of make the game, you know, a little bit more mid-game. Like there's a little bit more challenge. They're all kind of good designs. I'm gonna put the Tusk Blowhog at the top though. I think that it is really quite cool. The Jumbo Bulborb is probably the most disappointing enemy in the game. Just kidding, Titan Blowhog exists. Blizzarding Blowhog's a little cooler just because it's a new design. Regular Snowy Bulborb Blowhog. I honestly prefer it just because it's not jumboed up. Slooch is good. I prefer... Honestly, this guy's... he's weird. I like him a lot, okay? I like him a lot more than any of these enemies. Also lame. I'm a Shearwig. Pretty good, though. Yep, this is ordered. There we go. So there's my Pikmin 4 new enemies tier list. Great game. Spectacular enemy additions. I mean, honestly, when it comes to new enemies, this game definitely delivered some of the best that the series has ever seen. And I'd love to see some of them either ported to Pikmin 2, or I'd love to see how mods incorporate them in Pikmin 4. Just because, wow, this game was, you know, it brought a lot in. I know that the Scorch Cakes are already being ported over. The Downy Snagret has been ported a little bit, I believe. At least it's also begun. I'm curious what else might be. Oh, the Slooch. The Moldy Slooch, which will be nice, giving White Pikmin more to do. I like the Moldy enemies, you know, giving White Pikmin more threatening enemies, because they only really had the Doodlebugs before, and then the Dweevils. Hello, Pearly Clam. You're almost like a new enemy. Munch. Yeah. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it a lot.
New Papa.
How could I possibly pull myself away? That's a great question. Alright, goodbye everyone. I'm gonna put up the tier list again so you can look at it one last time. Yeah, the Groovy Longlegs is the coolest enemy. That's just facts. But like by a lot. I like this guy more though. These two are interchangeable. They're so good. I like this one design. I like fighting the Groovy Longlegs the most. There you go. There's your tier list. Fuck. Oh.